Hi, I'm Roxy Rose, and I'm back again doing another segment of transitioning late in life. As with my case, I'm 49, and I've been transitioning since I was 47. That's a bit late, but it's really not too late, girls. I was so sure that it was just way, past its expiration date and that I would have no chance. But it's not too late. With a little hard work, you'll get there and you'll be really happy, as I am. And it is a roller coaster ride. I'm going to be right up front with that. With family and emotions and passing and public acceptance. Oh, there's just a huge amount of emotions we have to deal with, and it's a roller coaster ride. Today I'm going to be talking about transitioning late in life, and with a lot of us late transitioners, and this is a lot of us, we've been married for really a long time because if you're like me, you had a very dependent personality and you stayed with your spouse through thick and thin, no matter how difficult it was. You kept yourself in the closet and you just kind of, rode out this course, trying to stay quiet and keep everything intact. As with my case, I was married, or technically I'm still married until I get those final divorce papers, but January was 30 years for me. We raised three beautiful daughters together, and we had quite a roller coaster ride. With me being transgender for those 30 years. A lot of you have asked, for an update. How is your divorce going? Is it amicable? And, are you still friends with your ex and so on? And I guess I don't want this to turn into a spouse bashing episode. But just to kind of give you a rundown, the day before yesterday, I thought everything was kind of going good, but it is this roller coaster ride, But yet 2 days ago, I was served with papers, and I was very depressed and upset to see what was stated in the papers. And basically, they were restraining papers saying that I can't go to one of our houses any longer because she's there. And I just have to read this because it's just kind of, it's funny and very depressing at the same time. But it says, let's see, I'm concerned for my safety given the respondent, I'm the respondent here, the respondent's mental instability. If respondent has access to the house where I am staying. Last week, respondent, that's me, threatened to take the respondent's life. That's me again. That's kind of funny. Yes, I did say that a while back. I confided in my spouse. I said to her, with the loss of my family has been just so overwhelming on me emotionally. And now this impending divorce that we're going through, I feel like I have nobody left. And I don't feel like life is worth living. And I said that, and apparently she just ran to the bank with that one and thought that was an opportunity for her to, gain control and possession of one of the houses that we have. Okay, so that's really depressing. That kind of gives you an idea how our divorce is going. It is a roller coaster ride. I guess this is one of those lulls. Very upsetting. But, I said that to her, and it's such a real situation. As you may have seen in one of my other videos, the suicide rate for transgender people is well over 30%. That's just this crazy huge number, and it has to do with public acceptance is one thing, and also family acceptance and friends and spouses and children, and all those things can just be overwhelming sometimes. And I have to admit, it does get to me too, but those are just low points, and we kind of have to just get past them. So yeah, sometimes I get really depressed over this impending divorce. It has been, marriage has been difficult, not just recently since I transitioned 2 years ago, but it's been difficult all the 30 years. But I've stayed with the ship, because I had a problem of, lack of self-esteem. So I felt like I really had no place to go. But now there's a lot of people out there, a lot of trans people out there that are considering transition, and they know that, as well as I knew before I transitioned, that losing your spouse is on the table. That's a consideration. Yes, you may lose your spouse. But I go back and forth, I try to sometimes, I feel apologetic, and I feel like, I'll make concessions. Oh, please, Patty, stay with me. I promise to do this. I won't transition fully. And I actually think those thoughts sometimes, as difficult as they are. But then I get a hold of myself and I think, well, that's really not feasible, really. And one thing, why people divorce after a 30-year marriage, you could say that, well, Patty, or my spouse, I am not the person that she married. Well, I think differently. I'm not the person she bargained for. Well, that may be true, There are a lot of situations that we have to deal with now that we didn't before, and she really didn't bargain for that. So sometimes I go back and forth between being apologetic, and sometimes I go back and forth to being spiteful and angry that I'm being rejected. But sometimes that's just my low self-esteem coming back and haunting me, But really, in our case, it was a little different as far as how she decided to separate from me or divorce me. When I first came out to her, she told me, well, I don't know if I'm okay with this, Roxy. Of course, my name wasn't Roxy at the time. And I says, well, it's something that I really, really just have to do. It's been bubbling up inside of me. And she knew it had been, She knew 20 years ago that this was bubbling up inside of me. And it was something that I never addressed. And she knew, too, that it was there. But that's besides the point. But so she said she didn't know if she was okay with that. Well, I said, I really have to do this. And I said to her at the time, I have to do this with or without you. It's just not something I could sidestep anymore. She said she would stay with me at that point, and she'd see how things go. Well, after I transitioned, and unfortunately I was outed to my family, that's a whole different story, and my family treated me very horribly. Patty, then my spouse, just came to my rescue. She became my defender, who she's always been my defender throughout our whole married life. But she just stepped up and she became this immense defender that was just all about defending her spouse and defending transgender people nationwide, really. She was posting posts on the internet and all sorts of stuff about how transgender people just get so mistreated, and she became this huge defender of me. We got along really well. The first year, things were going really smooth after my transition. But in that first year, I started developing this personality. My social anxiety disorder started, well, it went away immediately, as you may have learned in some of my other video clips. But self-esteem started coming to me, something I'd never experienced before. And I began talking for myself in public, negotiating my own deals, and being my own person. And I didn't neglect Patty. I was still, lip-locked with her all the time. Well, not in public, though, because, being transitioned, that was something that we had to forego. And we couldn't really hold hands in public, too. So that was an issue that played a part in it. But But the problem is I started developing a personality, and I started having confidence in myself. And Patty liked to introduce me as her transgender spouse. You know, she would talk to people we knew previously, which I understand that. But she would also talk to people that we didn't even know previously. And sometimes she would tell them about my situation being transgender. And if we met a new friend or something, she would want to introduce them to me and tell them about me being transgender. Well, at some point, I came up to Patty, I came out to her and I said, do we really have to do that now? I mean, if I'm not passable and you're embarrassed about it, I understand that. But I'm kind of feeling like I'm passable. And do we really have to introduce me as your transgender spouse? And at that time, she said to me, she said, I'm not comfortable with you just being a woman and me, meaning her, also a woman. So the whole time, you know, we've been together this last year or so, that's what kept us going. She was okay with me being her transgender spouse, but she's not okay with me being just a woman. Even though we didn't express, we didn't express ourselves in public, and we weren't affectionate in public. We were just basically sisters or friends. In fact, many people thought we were sisters. And I enjoyed, I felt it a big compliment to be considered her sister, not just because that meant I was passing, but I always admired Patty, and God, to be her sister would just be a wonderful thing. But anyway, so after I expressed my feelings and said to Patty, I really don't want to be introduced as your crazy spouse, transgenders, you know, well, she wasn't okay with that. So that, in my opinion, kind of finalized our getting a divorce. It was a slow deterioration after that, you know, and now here we are. Yes, I'm trying to keep it together, but I bounce back and forth. I'm spiteful sometimes. I feel so rejected sometimes. And other times I think that, well, then I have to remind myself, gosh, if I'm with her, she wants to introduce me as her transgender spouse. That just chips away at my self-esteem, the self-esteem that I'm trying to nurture, that I've been missing for so long. So I can't go back to that. And I know with you people that are watching this video, transgender women and men, you're going through the same thing. I've met so many nice transgender people that are married and have been married and have children, and their spouses and them are having such a difficult time. It is a huge issue, and it's all individual, you know, what situation you go through. It's very complicated, and I feel for you. I wish I could give you some advice, but as you could see, gosh, I get so depressed and wrapped up in all this mess sometimes. It's hard for me to deal with. And I'm sure it's going to be really hard for you to deal with too. But, you know, divorce, unfortunately, is on the table for all of us transgender people that have been married for so long. And you have to decide, you know, is it worth staying in the closet? Or do you have to come out, and whether or not your spouse is going to accept it in the long run? And like I said originally, when Patty said, I don't know if I'm okay with this, well, that was 2 years ago, and pretty much she was right. She's not okay with this. So it was probably never going to happen unless it happened exactly the way she wanted it laid out. And unfortunately, it was just too hard on my self-esteem. So that's an update on my spousal relationship. It's so complicated, marriage and 30 years and children and being transgender. So complicated, I just can't go into it. But anyways, that's an update on my particular situation. I'm sure yours is completely different. You know, take it for what it's worth. I have no information to provide you with here. But as things go on and the separation or divorce is final, I'll kind of give you an update, and who knows where life leads us sometimes. So this has been Roxy Rose with another edition of Transitioning Late in Life. It's never too late, girls, and I hope you do it, and I hope you're as happy as I am. And I know sometimes I express the fact that I do get depressed, but all in all, I'm extremely happy. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed. I could be walking around the house in private, nobody else, and sometimes you just can't wipe the grin off my face because I'm just that happy sometimes. But then there's so much other stuff to contend with. It kind of sometimes it just kind of collapses in on you sometimes. But those are just momentary lapses and lulls in our situation. Anyways, watch my other videos. Send me a note. Tell me what you think. And love to hear from you. My email address is myroxyrose@gmail.com. That's MYROXYROSE@gmail.com, or you could email me through YouTube or email me through whatever website you saw me on. I look forward to seeing you again on another video. Bye-bye.